Okay, Christina Merkley is back here with another one of these free recorded sessions, and I have Deborah in front of me. Welcome.
Thank you. It's so nice to be here.
Yeah, it's nice to have you here. We have a long history together, so nice to have you pop up, even though this is challenging context for a lot of people. And I know you're in an unfolding process. So
I am.
Yeah, so something must have appealed with you to come in and have a session with me. So just let me know a bit about what's up, and then we'll find our way about which process to do here.
Okay, so I have, as a coach, a business coach that I just recently finished working with, actually, he said, I'm kind of in the middle of a perfect storm. So I have left my marriage of 30 years. And that's been something that I've wanted to do for a while. And so that's happened. And just a few days after that, the physical move happened. My dad was diagnosed with cancer. And so that was 6 months ago now. And so I'm actually back visiting him again because he lives in another place and he lives in London, Ontario. And so I'm back. I just arrived here again yesterday, and really I'm here now thinking that I've come to say goodbye, which is difficult. And
Of course.
yeah. And then the other part of the storm, of course, is COVID, which I've become affectionately calling it FC, and you can imagine what the F stands for. So yeah, it's just a lot going on. And, you know, for my husband, you know, the biggest thing going on in his world is me and the separation. And it's been hard to navigate that with him, with all of this other stuff going on with my dad. And so, because I do want to, you know, there's a part of me that feels that there's an opportunity to reframe my relationship with my husband. And so I just don't want to live with him anymore. But, you know, that may not be something that works. So you know, that feels like a whole entity in itself.
Are you in the separation process, or have you finalized a divorce?
No, we're very much in the separation.
Okay. Yes. Yeah.
No, we're just living apart. We haven't financially separated.
Yeah.
So
taking that step. Yeah.
Yeah. So we've taken, you know, as he says, I'm driving the bus. So I've driven the bus over to another place to live. And so, but, you know, right now, having made that big move, right, which was really many years in the sort of thinking process, now I feel like I need to give my attention to my family, to my father and to my family here who are supporting my dad, and to be really
present.
Be present, and not be too distracted. And then, you know, FC kind of just keeps bumping into everything I'm trying to do. And, you know, today I needed to try and talk to my siblings about, you know, kind of asking their permission to be able to say, when I say goodbye to my dad, you know, to be able to hug him, right? Because when I visited him today, you know, I'm wearing a mask, I'm wearing a shield, I'm not touching anything, I'm sitting on the floor, I'm not, you know, I'm away from him, and, you know, just all of the things. I mean, COVID just makes so many things feel unnatural.
Yes.
And
yes.
So, yeah.
Okay, I've already started to take notes on this end, and I'm just feeling into process-wise what to do. And I did a short little explanation about inquiry, which more of a non-dual oneness meeting everything approach, right? I'm feeling that here, Deborah, I think as well, at least as a starting place. You tell me though, is there, in coming here, was it, obviously it's, and thank you for sharing, to have the connection, right, in the space. Hopefully, you know, to be of support and hold container for you. Was there a particular need? You're talking about the business coach, so I'm going to assume, right, that's taking care of that side of your psyche and aspect. That's good. Um, yeah.
I
So
think
no doings. I'm hearing more beings, not doings. Yeah.
I think I'm just looking for some guidance on, just how to be in this moment.
Mm-hmm.
How, and I really recognize I have to take care of myself.
Mm-hmm.
Which of course, with all of these kind of pressures coming, that feels not selfish, but that feels like maybe not the best use of my time sometimes, right? Am I the best person to be taking care of right now? Maybe I should take care of this person, or
Okay.
maybe I should take care of, maybe I should spend some more time sitting and talking with my husband and trying to help him navigate, the acceptance of where we're at, and
Mm-hmm.
which will facilitate us moving forward. And
Okay.
I need to accept the fact that, this is my last visit with my dad too. And so,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Just getting your last words that you said down there. And now I'm going to screen share. And it's, rough, spontaneous work we do here in the now. So let me get this so I can see you.
Mm-hmm.
Just going to stop share for a sec because something's going on with my computer and I'm not quite sure what. Should be fine. That's what I want. Okay, here we go. Yeah, just had to get the right view. Okay, so this, for lack of a better word, packet, right? This check-in and everything that so beautifully fell out, even though it's challenging, right?
Mm-hmm.
A beautiful law of reality. We're just going to step by step go through it and meet it. And then as you do that, various things are going to happen. There's lots of ways you can language this, but the one way to language it, and I'll see how this lands for you, is you said about guidance, right? I'm seeking guidance. Well, I'm going to hold a container for you to get the guidance from your consciousness and even from consciousness at large, right? Kind of the best place to go in circumstances like this, rather than a mere mortal coach trying to offer you guidance, right? I be the process facilitator direct to consciousness to guide you. And we're each our own sage. And that's why it's so powerful to do these with people. And you generously sharing them, because you're going to be connecting with consciousness at large. And all of us learn from the process because we're all connected. We're all one at a base cellular level here. So if one cares to believe that, one doesn't have to, but that's the thinking and feeling around it. So with that, I'll offer different words and different phrases, and that will be an invitation for you to kind of try those on for size. Some of them will land, some of them won't. So just really follow your own path about what lands, and there may be tweaking that needs to happen, right? So they'll get them kind of custom tailored for you, and you'll know it'll just unfold. So the first thing that I have here on the list, I'm just going to take it in more or less the order I heard it, was a perfect storm. So hello, perfect storm. Right, you're going to find where perfect storm is within you or outside of you. There's kind of a relational, spatial thing to it. It's there somewhere. Just find it and do a little bow to it if that feels comfortable, or even a nod, and just say, hello, perfect storm. You are welcome here, even though it's hard to welcome it, right? It's here. So
Yeah. Embrace.
Yeah.
Storm. Yeah.
Yeah, embrace it. Embrace is a big step. So if you can go right to embrace, great. But if you can just see it, welcome it, embrace it,
I
great.
kind of feel like I have to embrace it, because if I feel like if I don't, it just becomes this like bouncing at the edges. I have to kind of acknowledge it, that
Yes,
it is this time.
yes.
And
So,
as our wonderful provincial Dr. Bonnie Henry says, this is now, this isn't forever.
right, right.
And I've been really thinking about that. She's talking about COVID, but I'm thinking about it in terms of all of the perfect storm things that are going on in my life. Yeah.
I'm going to just put that because that wisdom is coming through already. This is
Yeah.
now, this isn't forever, because it's flashing Dr. Bonnie at you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And her beautiful, she has so many incredible
Oh yeah.
messages.
Yeah. Be kind, be calm, be safe. I mean, she's such an amazing, I want to say mentor, but it's so funny because I mean, I don't know her, but
Well,
she's
I think that's
such a,
fair. A lot of people resonate with her. She's had a very powerful presence.
yeah.
Really,
Yeah.
really great. Okay, Dr. Bonnie Henry, put her here as a mentor in spirit. And
Yeah.
so I love what you're saying. Acknowledge. So I acknowledge you, perfect storm. I see you.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to keep that down the list here, right? So the next on it was, I'm going through a divorce. Long-term marriage is coming to an end. We're doing separation here. We're living in different places. So I see you, divorce. I welcome you. This separation process, as challenging as it is.
Yeah, so that's an interesting one, Christina, that you wrote down divorce, and my husband has said a number of times, what you're doing is leading us on the path of divorce. And I have never said that I wanted a divorce. I've said I want a separation.
I could have sworn you said divorce, but maybe I heard it wrong. We'll go
No,
back and we'll watch the
yeah,
recording.
yeah, I don't think so.
Yeah.
It's just not part of, we're in the middle of a separation, and I just, yeah, and like, to me, divorce is, and who knows, maybe we will end up there, but that's not
Then
where.
let me course correct it, because
Sure, but
consciousness is rightly correcting me, because this is we got to get the nuance, and it's got to come from you. So
yeah,
let's try it on with separation.
yeah. So for me, I mean, just that the separation is feeling like I can be an independent person and yet still have a connection, a
Mm-hmm.
strong connection.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so that's, but what I think what we're trying to figure out is whether or not, and we're trying to figure this out individually, and then we will try and figure it out together, is whether or not what my needs are and what his needs are going to mesh. My
Mm-hmm.
needs are that I want to be independent and yet have a connection, and his needs are still to be articulated.
Mm-hmm.
And so, it may be that his needs then lead us to ultimately end up needing to get in a divorce, because I may not be able to meet his needs. And this
Mm-hmm.
is something that's come up a couple of times, is that, just trying to get some clarity on what his needs are. And if I can't meet his needs, what does that mean? Right.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and yet, if we're clear about what our individual needs are and that there is alignment, then maybe we can reframe our relationship in a way that works for both of us. And the reframing of the relationship is really a phrase that both of us have used,
Mm-hmm.
um, and um, and I think has potential. I mean, I I feel really strongly that it seems crazy to me that people can love each other and then be together for many years, and then at some point something happens and now they hate each other. Like
Mm,
I've
mhm,
never been able to understand how that, what that, I mean, sure, okay, it's different if there's abuse and things like that.
mhm,
But if it's just like you've fallen out of love, or you're going on different paths, then can you not actually just kind of reframe it and still feel connected?
mhm.
So it may be idealistic, I don't know, but sometimes I feel like maybe I'm a bit idealistic about what it could be. Um, and as I say, it may be that I'm idealistic and that what my idealistic view of the relationship is not what would work for him.
Mhm, mhm,
Right. So,
mhm. I'm just tracking this chain all the way through as we're working through this chain, right? So it's like as we go to meet one, then some other, and mind and the logical sense, a big bow to the mind because we all need them. And most of us have very strong developed ones, myself and the people who I attract and know, right? They've played us out. They've played for us well in life. So big bow to the mind, as the mind is understandably connecting with these different, very important, big component parts that are happening for you. And it's doing its riff, right? As I would assume, you've been running and crunching this for a
a lot.
long time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
I have thought about being out of this relationship for really for a number of many years. And
yeah.
we have two children who have been the anchor. And it's not that he's a bad person, it's just that we're very different. And so
Yeah. So I'm just going to, this is in different sides of us, right? So I'm just getting intellect in here. And intellect has been going, and you said the word, I've been thinking about this for years.
mhm, mhm,
So let's bow, appreciate, acknowledge, thank intellect, thank mind, thank the brain, right?
mhm,
There'll be other parts here, but this is showing up, this capacity. So
yeah,
just a deep bow, because it's been computing, it's been Googling, it's been crunching it, it's been doing, our minds are so in service to us. And we can only get so far with minds too, right? So, but big thanks, and find it inside you to just really thank the mind. Thank you for helping me try to figure this out and think through it. It's been a long time and it's continuing.
mhm.
And just see what happens as you thank mine and what occurs.
Yeah, it's interesting because I think that uh, I have been so I have stayed in the relationship. Yes, because of the fact that we have, two children, and just that it, was really important for me to be there. But I didn't do it out of, some people, oh, I stayed for the kids.
Mhm.
I've had a great life, right? Like I haven't been in a I haven't been like sacrificing myself. I guess
Mhm.
that's what, I have actually had a great life and have made the best of the situation that I found myself in, and um, and have done self-care through all of that time too. The self-care has always been a big part of um, how I've been able to manage. And
Mhm.
um, so that so that's made it work, right? um, when I realized that 2020, so our 30th anniversary is next month,
Mhm.
and I realized that it was dishonest to myself and dishonest to him to to truly celebrate that, right?
Mhm.
And 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 so I had made a clear decision and started to put things in place in order to be able to separate in a way that was respectful, was kind, was considerate, that I wasn't emotionally all over the place myself, that I had considered the thing, like the intellectual, like I really tried to consider the things that I needed to consider in order to be, in order to support him, right? Because if I was emotionally all over the place, I wouldn't be able to support him in this big journey that he's now on. And it's phenomenal, the things that he has been, the discussions and the conversations we've had in the last 7 months have been amazing. Like things we haven't ever talked about before. And we're talking about, we just had a conversation last week that was like really hard, but really respectful and really deep and spiritual. And he's meditating. He went on a meditation retreat. He's doing, a cognitive behavioral therapy program. He's really stepping up, right? And is learning so much about himself and how to, just language around emotions. And, his intellectual IQ is way up there, but his emotional IQ is not that high. And he would be the first to agree with that. So, it's been amazing that way. But I think because intellectually I knew that I needed to have things in place for myself in order to be able to, if I took care of the things that I needed to take care of, that would help me to be able to support him. And yet his work is not my work. Right? So that's a piece that I'm finding I have to keep reminding myself, is that I want to support him, but I can't do his work for him. I can't figure things out for him. I need to take time to figure out my own stuff. And that's what I'm really looking forward to, having time to figure out my own stuff, to take care of just me.
Okay, let's bow to that. Yes, yes, yes. Yes, yes, yes. You've been thinking and sorting this out and organizing this out, intellect and mind. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Yeah.
And also a bow to the great life. I've had a great life. Bow to the making the best of it and the self-care. A bow to respectful. A bow to kind. A bow to considerate. Yes, yes, yes. Yes, please. Yes, please to amazing conversations.
Yeah.
Yes, please to hard, to deep, to spiritual. Yes, please to meditation and CBT and EQ, all these amazing things that are unfolding. Yes, yes, yes. Bow, bow, bow. We like that. Yeah. And yes, please to time to figure out my own stuff. Just me.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm really trying to challenge myself to sit and not do anything for 2 minutes every day. Not think, just fully be, and not be meditating, because that's another piece, right, of doing on some level, right? But just to be aware and be, and just, it's hard. I am such a doer thing, right? What can I do next?
The doing that fits. The intellect and the do go together, right? And so intellect, mind. I'm going to put doer next to it too. But even with that, what's starting to slip out, and here's the balance. Here's the polarity, right? Is the figuring out my stuff. Time for just me, and then what pops out of that is quiet time, right? Is reflection time, is doing nothing, it's being, importance of being.
Mm-hmm.
So let's bow to that, to being. Oh, hello, being. You are welcome here.
Yeah.
And also a bow to it's hard. Like it's not your natural, right? It's challenging. Even 2 minutes, it's like the intellect and the mind and the doer wants to get in there. It's like, yeah, you're right. Mind, that is tough. And still bowing to being, right? Being is starting to emerge. How nice is that? Yes, yes, yes. We like that. Hello, being.
Yeah. It seems so funny to say that because
Yeah.
some people to sit still for, 2 minutes, it's just so easy, but I find it so hard.
It's not funny at all.
I just
No,
find it so hard to like
yeah.
sit there and just not think of what I'm going to do next.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
and then in 2 minutes I'm going to do this, and then and then don't forget about that, and oh yeah, and then.
Yeah. Because that's that mind. So, and
Yeah.
so bow to both of it. Bow to the mind because it works so hard and it's so vigilant and it's so constant
Mhm.
and not making it wrong, but hey, mind, would you like a little break? You must be tired. That's a lot of heavy lifting. You
Yeah.
got steam coming out of you. So, and also a hello, even though it's just peeking out, and mind's occupying a whole lot of space, right? So there's not a lot of room for being, but I can kind of feel being kind of poking out over here, like, oh, hello, being. There you are. Hello, being. Oops, you pop away again because mind's like after 2 minutes occupying, right? So, and not making any of it wrong, just seeing it as like, hello, this is hard. Other people might be able to do this, but that's okay. But you're not other people, you're you. So it's hard for you.
Mhm.
Fair enough, mind. I agree with you, mind. I get it. And as I'm saying these, I'm languaging them. It might sound like I'm saying them to me or to you, but I'm offering them on the coffee table, so to speak. And if you care to pick them up, you apply them. So you say it to yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's interesting. Today, sitting with my dad,
Mm.
I'm, I'm being very careful, right? Masked, shield, sitting on the floor. He's sitting, 8 feet away from me in his comfy chair, and he's sort of in and out of alertness.
Is he? I was going to ask. Yeah.
Yeah, and he's he's sort of in and out of sleep, it seems, but because
Mm.
he appears to be hearing what you're saying, but anyway, but at some point I'm just sort of sitting there trying to just sit there and be with him,
Yeah.
and and that was hard. It was really hard because I'm being with him, but I'm also seeing him being an old man,
Yeah.
and being a man that is at a very late stage in his life, and he's not the vital busy guy, and full of stories, and yeah, it's just sitting there watching.
So you've naturally moved down your list. So as you met and gave space for everything that was discussed about the separation and the intellect and the being there, you naturally moved down, just to make it conscious, down to your third one on the list without me prompting you to. And now being is continuing here. I'm kind of doing it in columns. So I've moved to a column here, and this is dad's now emerging and
Mhm.
being with dad. So, and hello, you're welcome here, my being with dad.
Mhm.
And then bow to all those things that your mind, again, the intellect captured. And it's just say to the mind, you're right. We see him being an old man. We don't like that.
Yeah, it's hard to see, that's for sure. It's really hard to see. And
Just agree with it. You're right. You're
yeah,
right. It is hard. And it's hard because he was so busy and full of stories and missing the stories and the busyness. It's such a big change.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Seeing him be vulnerable when he's always been the guy to help everybody,
Uh,
and and seeing him being, I don't know, helpless is the right word, but on some level, you know,
yes, yes.
um, you
So
know,
now it's a deep bow and a meeting of vulnerable. I see you vulnerable.
yeah,
I see Dad's vulnerability. I see helplessness from Dad, the man who was always helping everybody else.
yeah,
And it's hard to say yes, but it's there. Yes, 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 you're there. We don't like it. It's hard. And
yeah,
yet you're there.
yeah, yeah,
He's a vulnerable, helpless man at this stage of his life.
yeah, yeah. He's never been sick before, so
Wow.
it's hard for him to accept too. And though he seems to be maybe accepting a little bit more, but it's hard. It's hard to accept for him. I think it's hard to accept for my stepmom. It's
Mm-hmm.
hard to accept. Yeah, on
Him,
some level.
stepmom, and you.
And me.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And I think my siblings as well, though, they're here. Well, for sure, my siblings. Not all my siblings are here, so
Mm.
yeah.
So meeting hard to accept, seeing it's hard for him to accept, for
Mhm.
your stepmother, for yourself, and for your siblings in their various ways. And yes, you're right. This is hard. It's hard to accept.
Yeah, yeah.
And then just as you meet this, just see what unfolds from here. You're doing beautifully, Deborah. It's
Oh,
tough
thanks.
stuff, tough stuff to meet, and you're doing it. So well done.
Well, I think the other thing that's coming up for me right now is that my son is coming on the weekend,
Mm-hmm.
and um, I have so my daughter came with me in uh, the summer to see my dad, but he was doing actually really quite well then. And so I really encouraged my son to come this time, and so he's coming. Um, and now now that I see my dad, I'm worried about how that's going to be for him, and and how I can support him. Um,
Yeah.
and um,
So what's arising is your son's arrival and
yeah,
hello. And then worried, underneath the worried is love, right? That's care, worried love, worried care for him, wanting to support him.
yeah,
So just meeting that and agreeing with it, because it's right. It's worrisome. You're worried how he's going to respond. He's in a different state and condition than when your daughter met him, we met and connected with him.
yeah,
So not making anything wrong. That which we resist persists, right? So you're not resisting that. It's like, whoa, yeah, this is big. This is a concern. This is a worry.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, and it's funny because on some level, I think I really wanted my son to come here so that he was here to support me,
Hmm.
and because we would be leaving together,
Mm-hmm.
and I've been thinking about this, as the trip has been planned for just a few weeks, and thinking about him coming and thinking, oh yeah, it'll be so great for him to come so that he'll be here for me. And now I'm like, oh my
Yeah.
god, I need to support him. Wait a minute, how many
Yeah.
people am I supporting here?
Mm.
uh,
Okay, so here's the next layer that just emerged. Okay, so I'm supporting so many.
yeah,
So we're going to recognize the bridge. There was a support for him, and then it shifted about, oh, I'd like some support too.
mm-hmm.
What about me? And then the connection was made to all the others. And this has already come up in some other places.
Yeah, so I'm thinking the same thing. It comes back to supporting Neil, you know, support my siblings are doing, you know, two of my siblings that are here are just doing such an incredible job. And, you know, I'm such a doer, or, you know, how can I help them? And, you know, but how can I help my dad? How can I help my stepmom? And, you know, on some level, there's almost nothing to do.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
coming
That's the hard thing in these
it
situations
is,
for
and
doers. It
it's
comes,
so
yeah, it
interesting because
comes down to being.
it comes back to being, right?
Yeah.
It comes back to just like, just come and be, have no
Present.
expectations, have, you know, just be. And oh man, that's so hard.
Yeah. So now you just naturally move to the next layer of it, which is back to just being and it being so hard.
Yeah, which then FC comes into it, you know.
Now you're naturally moving beautifully. You're just unfolding,
Well, I look at the
tracking.
list and I go,
Yeah.
yeah, well then there's that damn thing.
So let's go to that damn thing. Yeah. So that damn thing.
Mm-hmm.
So don't move too far off of the just being that's hard. Like
Mm-hmm.
you're right. I agree. You're right. Intellect, it's hard. It's hard for me to be. It's hard for me to be in those other places. What was going on with the separation and everything. And now it's hard for me to be with dad. And because I can't do. And that's excruciating for a doer and a thinker. And now the mind's gone to, oh, and another thing, we've got this damn thing. We've got FC happening.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So do your best with FC. You are welcome here. You are here.
I'm not sure I'm so happy with welcoming it.
Mm-hmm. I know.
No, no, actually, you know, it's interesting because when I go home, there is a part of me that's looking forward to, you know, I'm going to isolate myself when I get home and, you know, then we've got, you know, this second wave, right, that's happening you know, and there's been this idea that has been put out there about having a covatical
Oh,
from
yes.
the early part of December to the early part of January. And there's a part of me that the part that wants to take care of myself, that wants to have time for me to figure out myself, that kind of thinks this covatical is actually kind of a cool idea. And you know, so maybe there's that time of being will come.
There you go. Okay, good. So you actually did at least find a way to partially welcome something connected to FC, which
Yeah.
is this covatical. I'm not sure if I spelled that right, but hey, you know what that is. So, and
It's
then
like
just,
sabbatical.
I get it. Yeah, I get it. I just
I
don't know how
didn't
to
come up
spell
with it. It was somebody else. Somebody else
it.
came up with it, and
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
brilliant.
yeah. And so from November to January,
Yeah, I think it's Covat, not with a C.
not COVID,
No, no,
Covat,
it's COVID, and then with a DITAL, right?
DI. Okay, well, I'm always like with graphic recording and everything, when people start giving you spellings, my mind can't do it. So go slow and I'll get it.
So it's
I
COVID,
got COVID. Yep.
and then AT
Yep.
I Covatical, yeah,
CAL.
AL,
Okay, good. That's
like
better.
like sabbatical.
Got it. Got
Yeah,
it. Cool. Okay, so as you met that damn thing,
yeah.
fucking, we can swear here. Beep, beep, YouTube,
Fucking
effing COVID. Yep. And then what, as you met it to the best of your ability, what did emerge was covatical. And then the time for me, and then, hey, maybe in there might be the time for being. So just agree with that. Oh, thank you. We like that. That has some possibilities.
Yeah,
That has something in there for me. Yes,
yeah,
yes.
yeah, yeah.
And as you meet that, at least that part of it, just see what unfolds.
Well, the thing that's unfolding for me is that I'm already projecting into the future. So, so the being with Dad, I'm kind of, and it's interesting, your graphic has it, this space there, right? Where I'm actually not acknowledging this loss, right? Which is going to come somewhere in there.
Okay,
And,
that's good. So what's emerged now as you've met that, now what's coming is loss. And you don't exactly know when. It may be in this time. But let's just, and this is a big one. Loss, you are welcome here. Hello, loss.
I'm not sure about welcome. I acknowledge. I'm not sure.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Fair enough. Even
Yeah.
just peeking at it.
Yeah. I know it's
nod.
coming. Yeah, I know it's coming. Yeah.
Okay. And so, hello, I know it's coming. You're right.
Yeah. Yeah, but it is interesting because there is a part of me that's like, okay, so I'm in this time and I'm being here and I'm being with Dad, and you know, and I'm trying really hard for these next 10 days to be fully present. But there's a part of my mind, the planning, intellectual part of my mind, that is already starting to kind of move into
so let's just
kind of being looking forward to this time, this covatical time where I'm going to be.
Yep. So just agree with this. Hello, planning mind. Yes, you're there. You're welcome.
Yeah, there's a part of me that feels like, I don't know, it's almost a bit dishonorable to my dad to be kind of projecting that, though.
Yeah. Okay, that's what's emerging next. So there's kind of two sides. So this is dishonorable. And just agree with it. Yes. You're right. That feels dishonorable. If I'm not able to, if my mind is out there planning and looking forward to this time in a way, right?
Yeah.
Check with mind if that's its pleasure, given what's going on. Is it really its pleasure to be planning away? Or is it?
I don't know if it's its pleasure, but it's its pattern.
Very good. Yeah. So minds recognize it's a pattern, not a pleasure.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
So agree with it. Oh, very wise. This is a pattern, not a pleasure.
Yeah.
Now, patterns can be halted and worked with, especially when they're seen. And now the mind's getting a glimpse at this. So mind, now that you know this is a pattern, not a pleasure, might there be something else? Might there be another movement? There's an invitation you can give mind, and it's up to mind about how it wants to respond. And your mind's going to do whatever it wants to do. So just here's the invitation. Mind, you've kind of in a way been stuck in this crunching thing that you've been doing, this way that you've been doing. It's a pattern, right? So mind, would you like to actually move? There's an option here. You don't need to be stuck in this pattern. You could root down, you could rise up, you could expand, you could do various things. But now when presented with the option of perhaps doing something differently, what do you think, mind? Is there any response to the invitation? You might have forgotten because of your service, your loving service over Deborah's life, that you actually have some other options. Like, what were you before you were this patterned mind?
It feels like it's been a patterned mind for a long time.
Probably has, fair enough. And it's probably got the personal and the impersonal, right? So there's you, and then there's the huge chunk of the collective that also has a patterned mind that does things, right? It's kind of the Western disease, if you will. So just bowing to that, you're right, mind, long time. Long
So
time personally, long time collectively, archetypically. Yes, you're right. And even though it's been a long time, maybe millions and millions of years, before you got patterned, you were something else.
So it's interesting. The thing that's coming up for me right now is that seeing the, the challenge of seeing my dad being vulnerable
Yes.
when I am not planning mind. For me, I feel a scattered mind, which then is a vulnerable mind.
Mm.
So
So that's where the pattern came out of, was that
yeah,
sense of scattered. Otherwise, I'm scattered and therefore I'm vulnerable, and we don't like that. So this is a protection.
I don't like being vulnerable.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
interesting. I hadn't really thought about that before.
Yeah. And natural, right? Makes sense. And isn't it sweet? Isn't that a sweet mind who's going to save you from vulnerability?
Mm,
Right, and organize the crap out of stuff, right, and like do its pattern, right, like that's service, that's care, right, that's love, that's really deep love, that it jumped in and sacrificed itself in a way to pattern itself to prevent you from being vulnerable. It's
mhm,
incredible. So big bow to mind and its heart that patterned itself to keep you safe.
mhm, mhm.
And just see, as you see
So
that and spot
is
that and
being,
acknowledge that, what happens.
yeah, and I guess the thing that's coming up for me is like, so what's the problem with being vulnerable?
Good question.
Like, why do you, is that part of what's come up in the relationship too, is that I haven't wanted to show my vulnerability? And that, in fact, it's interesting because part of, some of the conversations that Neil and I were having last week was, I said, these kind of conversations are so amazing because we're both showing vulnerability, not something that we've done before, not something I've felt safe to do in our
Yeah.
relationship before. And
So
yeah,
it's not safe. So that's the problem, is it's not safe to be vulnerable. But now you're also learning it's not safe to not be vulnerable, because then it's, the intimacy and the connection and the really truly being seen and being loved for who one is, right, gets missed out on potentially too. Yeah. Oh, how wise. So how wise, mind, for you to be open and spotting the pattern, and then realizing that before the pattern, there was some other stuff that led to vulnerability, and hence that's where the pattern came. And this is all connected to safety, understandably. So great service. Thank you, mind. You're saying to your mind for serving you, and how it does it in humanity, right? Because you're not alone in this pattern, right? All of us, all human beings, to various degrees, are have coping mechanisms that keep us away from vulnerability because we're going to get hurt.
mhm, mhm,
It's an attempt to keep safe, but then it backfires. It may have served you way back when, or when it ever first started, right? But now it's, in some ways, not fully, become a hindrance. Wow.
mhm.
Especially when you're going through a separation and you're in the midst of the COVID pandemic and your father is dying from cancer.
Yeah, the
And
perfect storm.
yeah, 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 yeah. And here you are working the perfect storm and doing great inner work to see vulnerability. And you come by it honestly. You're watching your father, who is unlike, or like yourself, right? A helper and a doer. And he's meeting it through his death process,
Mhm,
vulnerability and helplessness.
mhm.
As
Yeah.
are you in your ability to be present with him meeting that, the whole family meeting that.
Mhm.
Big stuff.
Yeah, and what's interesting is that, I mean, I I challenge myself physically, and I, I, which I think, when you challenge yourself, it's a way of coming up against your vulnerability, because you could fail, right? But I challenge myself physically, and yet, I don't challenge myself emotionally.
Yeah.
So that's, yeah.
So meet that. Hello, 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 the recognition of I challenge myself physically, but I'm realizing I don't emotionally.
Yeah.
And just breathe into that and take a moment with that and meet that. That's big.
Yeah. Huh.
Yeah. Good, huh?
Yeah, that's an interesting one, because I'm just thinking about some of the things I've done in the last few weeks, just, yeah, like taking my rowing scull out in the current and around some islands that I had never been around, and playing chicken with a big fishing boat. And finally I had to stop because he was not stopping, and joining a group of people that go and stand in the very cold water every morning at 6:30 to kind of challenge myself physically that way. And yeah, it's funny. And yeah.
I'm just thinking, poor body. Poor body. Apologies to body. There might be another way to go about this. We might be able to do this emotionally as opposed to physically. Yeah, but it makes sense. Isn't it another brilliant coping mechanism, right? Because there's some energy there to dissipate. So you're doing it physically. Yeah.
Yeah, that's very interesting.
Just meeting the interest. Hello,
Yeah.
hello, insight, interest, you are welcome here. Ahas, you are welcome here. Parallels being drawn. Whoa, you're seeing things, right? Things are dropping into consciousness. They're coming from the unconscious and they're moving into the conscious. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Not easy, but you're doing it. Wow. And just see as you meet this, what unfolds from here.
Well, I come back to the loss, actually.
Very good. That's woo, goosebumps.
Yeah.
So go there, go back to the loss and really sit in front of that, look at it, stand in it the best that you can, as close as you can get, knowing that that's challenging to do because that's what you are looking at.
Yeah.
As opposed to rowing and playing chicken and jumping in cold water. Actually reorient yourself and stand and look at loss. Look at your dad.
Well, not just my dad, my relationship too, right?
Of course, multiple losses.
Well, and even with FC, I mean,
Yes.
like how many, just the losses around that, to not be able to, I'm a hugger. Like,
that's a loss. That's a big loss,
God,
especially because you're the physicality, right? So
I just can't stand the fact that I can't hug people.
so let's get that all down and agree with it. It's losses. It's dad.
Yeah.
It's relationship. Might not fully be lost, but there's a shift in reframe and something afoot here. So it's a change. So dad, relationship, COVID, and everything that brings individually and collectively.
Yeah. Yeah.
And hugs.
And hugs. Yeah.
And
Well,
back to your stand that you're taking is that you're going to hug your dying father.
yeah. Yeah, I have to get approval, but that's, my siblings have said yes, but now I have to make sure that my dad is comfortable with it, and stepmom is comfortable with it.
Okay, deep out to that, to having to go through the process to get the okay for the hug.
Yeah. Yeah.
Crazy what we have to do. Yes. And your determination to do it.
Yeah, but I also know, like, I mean, everything I'm going through, other people have gone through, and
Yep.
you know, and I mean, you know, COVID has made it so hard on so many people in so many ways, and you know, in some level, this is minor, you
No,
know.
no, no. You have it too, and it's hard on so many. So now you just went to compassionate heart, right? So you went your heart and sorrow, and your emotions were right there, and then it kind of got turned off a bit because you went, oh, poo poo, that you know, so many others are in pain, and it's yes and yes to your own losses because they're stacking up here, Deborah.
Yeah,
Dad, relationship, COVID, hugs, and just the having to go through a procedure to get a hug, be able to be approved for a hug, like that's
yeah,
cray cray, right?
yeah,
And it is hard on so many. So let's both bow to that. Like, yes, yes, yes. This is hard on so many. We're human beings who need to hug, and let alone financial losses and worry and stress and illness and
yeah,
death, right?
yeah,
And infighting and fractioning and all the stuff that's going on. It is hard on so many. Absolutely right. And we don't like it.
yeah, yeah. It's so hard.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, on some level, it is, you know, it comes, I guess it comes back to Dr. Bonnie too. Like it's collectively we're in this, you know? I mean, this sense of loss is
Yep.
this collective loss. And you know, that's where the be kind piece is just so important. And um yeah, just that sense of, you know, we're in this together. And
Yeah.
I have had amazing support, you know, in terms of people I know, you know, thinking and caring about my dad, you know, people that have never met him before, and you know, and just the support. Yeah, just you know, I do have amazing support, you know.
That's pairing up. And I put it next to the supporting so many too, right? Because they're, and being supported.
Yeah,
And now can really see the big bow to that. You're right. You're right. And I like that. I like being supported by
mm-hmm,
others, by so many. I'm receiving amazing support. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
mm-hmm. Yeah, it is so gratefully received.
Okay, yeah. So gratitude is emerging.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've been very diligent about keeping a gratitude journal in the last 6 months, and it's been hard because there's been, you know,
Mm-hmm.
a friend also died, you know, and so I left Neil on the 2nd of May, and Dad got diagnosed on the 6th of May, and then a friend died on the 11th
Oh my goodness.
of cancer, and she was only,
Oh,
and it's just like enough already, and so it's just, yeah,
just take a moment to meet that. Meet
yeah,
that. The series of events, one after the other, and just agree with it that that is right. That happened, and how hard that is.
mm-hmm,
Agree with it. You're right. You're right. Having them stacked up one after the other, and losing my friend to cancer afterwards, right like that. Don't like so hard.
mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a lot.
It is a lot.
Hmm. I see a lot of connections here.
Let's put that. I see a lot of connections. I see. We'll bow to that. The power of inquiry and visible inquiry, mirroring it back.
Yeah.
So bowing to the vulnerability of doing inquiry to see,
Mm.
and by being willing to do that and meet everything, seeing a lot of connections.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, yes, yes. We like that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
And that might be the perfect place to leave it too, is seeing all the connections.
Yeah, and just I just my I goes back to the just be,
Mm-hmm.
you know, just be, and the importance of being, and yeah, and just really,
Let's put that title up here then. The importance of being. Mm-hmm.
thank you, Christina.
No, my pleasure. Thank you.
Wow,
I'm
you
just,
are so gifted.
mm,
Thank you.
oh, it's my honor, truly. The
Wow.
importance of being. Thank you for being the sage and channeling the wisdom for the collective. I take a lot from this, and I know many other people will as well. So I appreciate your inquiry, Deborah.
Thank
And I
you.
wish you all the best with this time and with the hard yet beautiful thing that's happening as you are learning to be present and being, and your father
Mhm.
right now in this time being the thing that's teaching you.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, it just occurred to me. So you were the person that introduced me to graphic recording and to the idea of life maps.
Mm-hmm.
And Dad's life story was the very first one that I did. And now, and now my career is helping other people tell their life stories. And so I just felt, now again, I see a lot of connections.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I brought a copy of his book with me to sit and look and think about some of the stories with him.
Hmm.
Uh, so yeah,
And this is part of life too, right? As hard as it is. Yeah, this is when we draw life maps, depending on, some people they're still mid-process and the scroll is unfolding, and
yeah,
some people are ending the end of this scroll. Yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah. Hmm. An honor.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yes, you're very welcome. Thank you.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
I'll stop the share. Now I will do a little color, etc. on this and send it to you. So
Oh, thank you.
yeah, we'll be in touch.